pandas and gardeners, Calvin here. Thank you for tuning in to Mind Over Matter board games. Today on Mind Over Matter board games, we're going to be going over how to play Takenoko, made by Antoine Bauza. So in Takenoko, we are all members of the Japanese imperial court, whose emperor has recently been gifted a panda. So in this game, we'll be developing a plot of land where basically there'll be a gardener and a panda. And our goal is to grow bamboo using the gardener and for the panda to eat it and kind of balance the two in order to win objectives. But before we learn exactly how to play Takenoko, let's take a look at the components. So these are the components to Takenoko. So first, let's start off with the player boards. There are 4 player boards, as this is a 4-player game maximum. Next, here you're going to see that we have the tiles. These are like your plot tiles, so you'll see that there is the main tile, which is blue, as well as there are yellow of these plots, pink, and green. Let's save up some space and keep these back. Perfect. Next here, you're going to have the objective cards. This is the objective for the person who finishes first. The purple is the panda objectives. The blue are the plot objectives, so objectives for the plot cards that you place or are placed on the board. And orange is the growing bamboo objective. So those are 3 different types of objectives there. Then here we're going to have the panda, which eats the bamboo, and the gardener, which grows it. Above that, we're also going to have 8 action chips, 2 per player. These action chips just help you keep track of which moves you've made on your turn. And we'll get more into that a bit later. On the left here, we're going to have these irrigation channels, which are just used to irrigate the plots. Here we have the weather die, which we roll on your turn to determine what weather is going to be on your turn. And above that, we're going to have the improvements. So these improvements, you have 3 irrigation improvements, 3 panda no eating zone improvements, and 3 of these improvements where basically instead of growing 1 bamboo, if it's improved, you grow 2. So these like the growing improvement. And lastly here, we're going to have the 3 separate types of bamboo. So we have the yellow bamboo, the pink, and the green. And these are all the components to Takenoko. So this is how you set up Takenoko. So firstly, you're going to have your die out in the open. Next, you're going to have your 3 improvement tiles sorted. You're going to have your plots laid face down. Here you can keep your irrigation channels, or you can just leave them in the box like I'm doing with the bamboo shoots. Above that, here you're going to see all the objectives cards are going to be sorted and laid face down. Now in the middle of the board, we're going to have the starting tile, as well as you're going to have the panda and the gardener. So on your side of the table, or with you, is going to have your player board and your 2 action markers. But that's how you set up Takenoko. Now let's go into how to play. Okay, so how do we play Takenoko? So a few things to know before we look into the moves we can make is that we can make 2 moves per turn. But the thing is, they can't be the same move, they have to be different moves. The moves are shown on your player board here, and you can see there are 5 of them. This is why these action trackers are really useful, because they can basically, you can just drop them on a move you've already made, and that indicates which moves you have available. This way you don't get confused or you don't mistakenly doing the same move twice. So let's start off with the first move. So as you can see here, the first move says that basically we can take 3 of these plots and we can basically use or choose to play one of these 3. For example, I could play this one here. And then these would go into like a discard pile, which would then be shuffled and put back into the regular pile once all the plots have been used up. So a few rules when it comes to placing tiles. So one of them is that you can place a tile if it's adjacent to this starting tile. So if you're placing a tile adjacent to the starting tile, like I am right now, you only have to touch that starting tile, that's it. But let's say on the next player's move, they want to do the same move as me that I did, for example. Let's say they take 3 of these and they want to place 1. They can't keep it here. The reason why is, the second rule is that it has to be, if it's not adjacent to the starting tile, it has to be adjacent to 2 other tiles. So as you can see, this one's only adjacent to 1 tile, so this wouldn't work. But let's say they could, but you could keep it here, because this satisfies the condition that it's adjacent to the starting tile. Let's say the next person wants to play another one of these tiles. Let's say they pick up 3. Now that 2 tiles are already laid out, they could technically lay it here, because this satisfies the second condition such that it is next to 2 plot tiles, not starting tile. But that's the first move. Let's just leave this the way it is right now. Another move that you can make is you could reserve a irrigation channel. So when you reserve an irrigation channel, you basically just keep it on your board here. Whenever on your turn or any subsequent turns, once you have this reserved, you can play it whenever, and it does not take up a turn. It only takes up a turn to reserve it, but again, on the same turn or any subsequent turns, you can play this and it doesn't take up a turn. That would be the second move. The third move, and let's say that a person played that here. A key thing to note with irrigation channels, let's say the game's like this right now, is when you play an irrigation channel on a non-irrigated plot for the first time, so this is the first time you've irrigated this plot, it grows a bamboo on it, like this. So anytime a plot is irrigated for the first time, it grows a bamboo. And a key thing to note is that any tile that is next to this starting tile is automatically irrigated. Okay, so these 2 would automatically be irrigated. But that's everything for the irrigation step. Another move that you can make is you could do the gardener move, which is this one here. So the gardener move is basically you're able to move the gardener in any line. For example, you could move the gardener here or here. What you can't do is move the gardener in like a curvy shape. For example, I couldn't move the gardener here. The reason why is it's not a straight line. I have to move it here, right? So I could move it here. I could move it here, but I can't move it here because it's not in a straight line from the place of origin. So what a gardener does is it basically grows bamboo on the tile it lands on. For example, let's say I want to move it here. It would grow bamboo on the tile it lands on if that tile is irrigated, as well as any tile adjacent to this tile that is of the same color. For example, since this is of the same color, it would grow one here as well. Because this is pink and not yellow, it would not grow a bamboo here. It's only on the tile of and adjacent tiles of the same color. A bamboo would grow when you move the gardener. Next, you have the panda. So the panda, similar to the gardener, can only move in straight lines on your turn. For example, you can move it here, here, but you cannot move it in like a curve here. That's not allowed. So for example, I'd move the panda here. And what the panda does is when the panda lands on a spot, you basically eat the bamboo. So this bamboo piece I have would go into the panda's belly here. And this is where you store all the bamboo the panda eats. The next move is objective cards. So right now you're already going to start off with 3 objective cards, 1 of each type. So this is actually already going to be in your hand. So you're going to have 3 of these objective cards in your hand, right? So that's at the start of the game. So if you use the objective card moves though, so if you use this move here, what you could do is you could take an objective card of your choice. For example, if I want a grower, I can take the growing one. So let's go over what the objective cards are. So you can see on the back of the objective cards, this would be the plot objective. So in this objective, what it wants to do is you need to get 3 of these yellows in a straight line, and they all have to be irrigated. And if you can fulfill that on your turn, you can cash in this objective card. This does not take a move. Cashing in objectives do not take a move. But what you can do is you can cash in this objective card and gets the points on the bottom left. So let's just say you were able to fulfill this condition and I had 3 in a row, 3 yellows. I would cash this in on my turn and get 3 points. And I'd put this, like, let's say I'll put this here. The next type of objective is the gardener. So the gardener objective is basically you have to grow this amount or this color or numbers of bamboo on the tile indicated. So you can see this has an irrigation mark. So this would be an irrigation tile. So let's see if we can find one here to demonstrate. Oh, perfect. This was a perfect example. So let's just say that this was over here, right? And because next to this water spot is already irrigated, so to fulfill this condition, you would have to grow a stack of 4 bamboo on that tile. Oh, I dropped some bamboo, but it's okay. Here. Perfect. So if you grow 4 bamboo on this tile, it would fulfill this condition, and on your turn, you can cash it in and get the points at the bottom left. This would be 4 points. Just keep in mind that you have to get it on the type of tile indicated. So some will have this, some will have the panda no eating, some will have the growing, and others will have all 3 and show an X, meaning that it shouldn't have any one of these 3. It should just be a normal tile such as this, such as these 2. And once you fulfill it, you can just put it here. The last one would be the panda eating objective. So this objective you get when you basically eat bamboo and you put in the panda's belly. So let's say I move the panda around a few turns and I get, let's say I move the panda here and I get 1 bamboo. And let's say I had this previously. What I would do is on my turn, I could cash in these 2 bamboo pieces, these 2 pinks, in order to collect this. And I would then cash it here. But that's how you would get objective and do the objective cards, as well as how you would get more. So if you want more on your turn, you would just have to, again, go here, and you could pick up any one of these objective cards. Perfect. But those would be the 5 different moves you can make in Takenoko. So one more thing to notice, that after the first round happens, so let's say there are 4 players, and this is what after it comes, I started and after it comes back to me, this is what the map looks like. Starting on your next turn, you then start rolling the weather die. So the weather die is used on, again, starting the second turn, and the weather die has different effects. So let's say there's 6 sides of this die, and the different effects are shown actually on your player board here. So these different effects can give you different abilities. For example, if you roll this sun, what this means is instead of taking 2 turns, you can take 3 separate turns. This means that you could do a plot move, an irrigation, plus you could do any one of these 3. You can do a gardener, panda, or objective card. But you cannot do the same move twice. Again, you have to do 3 different moves. Let's just say you get the rain. The rain means you can basically grow bamboo on any one of the irrigated tiles. For example, I could grow bamboo here if I roll the rain. And that does not take a turn, that's just your special ability. If you roll the wind, let's see the wind, perfect. This wind basically means you can actually do 2 of the same turn. So for example, if I wanted to, I can get 2 tiles, so do the tile move twice. Or I could do the irrigation move, gardener, panda, or objective move twice. I don't have to do two different moves. I can do the same. If I roll this on my turn. If you get the lightning, basically what you do is you scare the panda. And the panda can move and eat one bamboo anywhere off the board. So for example, let's just say, let's say the panda was here. If I roll this on my turn, I can automatically move the panda here, even though it's not in a straight line, doesn't matter because this is your ability. And I can eat a bamboo. Lastly, you have the cloud. So the cloud, or this cloud icon, basically means you can pick up one of these improvements. You don't need to play them. You can just pick them up and store them here. So now let's talk about the improvements. So there's three different types of improvements. The first one is this irrigation improvement. So let's say I pick it up. I can play it whenever I want to on my turn. It doesn't take a move after I pick it up. But let's say I play it here. So this means that let's just say that this tile wasn't irrigated before. If I place this here, this tile is automatically irrigated. This one, if I place it here, for example, I would be able to grow bamboo and the panda wouldn't be able to eat bamboo on this tile. So basically I'd be able to grow it and the panda wouldn't be able to eat it. And the last improvement here, this basically just means that if you place this on a subsequent tile, let's take a look and see if I can find one for you. Perfect. Let's say this was over here. This means, let's say I pick up this improvement and place it. This means instead of one bamboo growing, let's say the gardener goes here and I grow bamboo. Instead of one bamboo growing, two grow instead. So every time one bamboo would grow, two grow instead on this tile. And those are how the improvements work. So when you roll this cloud here, you can pick up an improvement and you can either store it or you can play it. If you store it, you can play it any time on your turn. There's not a particular time, it doesn't take up a move after you've collected it. And the last one is a question mark. If you roll the question mark, you can basically choose any one of these abilities and enact them. So you do these abilities in addition to your moves. So for example, if you roll the lightning, you collect the bamboo, and then you can also do two separate moves. So these are separate to the moves. So how do you finish a game of Takenoko? So to finish a game of Takenoko, what has to happen is basically you have to gain these objectives and you have to get a number of these cards. So number of the cards depend on how many people are playing. For example, in a two-player game, you need 9 cards to basically do the last round. 3 players, you need 8, and 4 players, you need 7 of these objective cards in order for the last round to go. So let's just say I get 7 of these objective cards first. Let's say there are 7 here. What will happen is the person that finishes first will get this Emperor card and automatically get 2 additional points. But then the other players basically have another turn to do and in order to get points. So for example, if this is a 3-player game, I would get this special card and the other 2 players would still get 1 more turn to do their 2 actions and hopefully get more points. After that, you would just count up the different amounts on your cards, and the person with the most points wins. Well, that's how you play Takenoko. Thank you for tuning in today to Mind Over Matter Board Games. If you did enjoy the video, please feel free to like it, as well as to subscribe and hit the bell button for more content. That being said, I hope to see you at the next board game night. Mind Over Matter Board Games, out.